We'll get started. Welcome to the podcast. This is Alex's first time on the pod. Alex is our head of digital media here at Rank Views. Alex, do you want to give anybody a little bit of background about yourself? Introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Graduated from the University of Missouri in 21. Got started with the digital marketing there, actually more on the SEO content side of things. I started off content writing, doing a lot of blog posts, website content, and then after graduation, moved back to Kansas City and then started still in the content world for a real estate group out in Lee Summit. Eventually moved to director of marketing there before eventually landing here, specializing in paid search. That's where I really got my start, was there with a director of marketing, dipped my toes in that water, and quickly realized that paid media was definitely where I felt most comfortable. And so moved to Rank Views, been here coming up on 2 years now, and I've just been able to learn so much about paid search and paid media as a whole that it's just, I couldn't be more happier.
Yeah, that was a good intro. We throw you in the deep end and you sink or swim. And you're swimming like a madman. You're keeping your head above water, and you're doing great. We do have a MU grad on the podcast. This is a Jayhawk, Missouri Tiger podcast right here now.
Yeah, there you go. Little border war. Are you allowed to call it the border war still? I think you are, right? Or
I'm old enough. I can. You can't. It's a showdown for anybody under the age of 40.
That's right. Yeah.
You've been here for 2 years. How's this world a little bit different? Agency land and just working with a bunch of smaller SMBs every day, trying to figure out how to make everybody else's business run.
Going back to what you said it really is sink or swim. And I think that mindset is something that you have to be really aware of. You got to be able to think on your feet and quickly switch between different mindsets. What works for one business won't work for another. You have to be really mindful of what their business goals are in an agency setting compared to being in-house in my previous role. The things that you pay attention to, the overall strategy changes, and you got to also be thinking about what you're saying to the actual client. You got to be aware of what matters to them might not be exactly what matters to you as the media buyer, and making sure that you're aligning those. That's the really crucial part of it, and I think something that I've definitely learned working here is making sure that you're aligned there.
And what you said was very simplistic, but the complexities behind all that are monumental, like moving from phone call to phone call and business to business and industry to industry within a matter of minutes. If you're on back-to-back Zoom calls, you're having totally different conversations. You're doing kind of the same job, but you're totally different. Entrepreneurs that we work with and business owners that we work with, whether you're under $1 million or making 10 plus million in revenue a year, they all are the same. They're like short attention span, short patience. Does this work? Does this not work? They're never really happy, even when you're crushing it. Q4 just happened. We're sitting here in mid-January. Just had a 400% ROAS month. That's the agency life. I'm sure it happens in-house, but it's a little bit more disconnected when you can't walk down the hall and talk to your CEO. You're talking to them as an agency through a Zoom call or whatever it is.
Yeah, like you said, it's easier to talk about the wins when you can walk down the hall and say, oh, dude. But then when you're only meeting with someone maybe once a month, every 2 weeks or so, your time is limited. So it makes sense to be focused on, okay, what's the next step? What else are we going to do to really build on that success?
And I guess people reach out to their agency they're never like, hey, we crushed it. We had a great Tuesday. You never get that email.
Yeah, you would think. But
they're like, what happened on Wednesday? It just wasn't as good as that day. It's still a good day. It just wasn't as good.
There's so many factors that can explain why Tuesday was better and Wednesday wasn't.
Yeah, I know. It's a trust-building relationship, and building that relationship over time is always a challenge. One of the things I feel like we specialize, people have already hired an agency at this point. If they're going to hire us, they've been like, unless they're just like a brand new business, like they just got a website yesterday kind of thing. Those are not like the main thing. We get people who are like, I've been burned 3 times. I don't trust anybody or anything. I'm going to hold every dollar under a microscope and make sure that you do it the exact right. Makes it hard. And we have proven ourselves in some very difficult situations, which I'm pretty proud of. I'm pretty proud of just the processes that we have in-house to be like, look, we're not going to sell you a bill of goods, and we're not going to blow a bunch of smoke. What's good is good, and what's bad is bad, and here you go. And we were joking out in the hallway, or before this, even like yesterday, we were talking about, we have case studies on our website about how great we can help people. There's probably more case studies of people who didn't listen to us and decided, no, my way's better.
Yeah.
Facebook is the way. And you're like, okay, and then
If that's what you want to do.
if that's what I went to a conference and someone told me, and you're like, okay, I can't fix that right now. You're going to do what you're going to do. And I'm going to look back in 6 months. And then what do? You can't do the I told yous. That's why they're not case studies, because they'd be I told you so's, but nobody wants to hear that. Anyway, it's an interesting world. The typical format of this, I'm going to do a hard pivot. We're going to get off that topic. Let's get into what's new, what's keeping you busy. Typical launch of this podcast is just like anything on your radar as far as AI tools, new ideas, new concepts that you're playing with. Always love to hear that.
Yeah, I would say something that we're definitely doing now, and it actually, to tie back after the hard pivot to what we were talking about previously, is talking about accountability. We're doing a lot more with PMax now, I think, than we were mid last year when the channel performance was taken out of beta and applied to all of our accounts. For those who might not be aware, channel performance is underneath the Insights and Reports tab in the actual Google Ads platform. It's only available for Performance Max campaigns, and it will actually show you your performance by channel. You can look at it in table format, whichever you prefer, and it will show you your impressions, clicks from each channel, what conversion actions those actually drove under each category. And I think from my perspective, it was that final piece that I needed to make sure that we could hold these Performance Max campaigns accountable and show to the client, yes, this is performing in the way that you want it to. And then also tweak from there to make sure that everything is performing the way that it should. That's something that I'm really excited about, that we've been employing a lot more, and I think we're rolling that out to more clients here recently and saying, especially for the ones that do hold their feet to the fire from an accountability perspective, who look at AI automations and say, okay, is that really the right thing for my business? This is something that allows us to point back and say, yes, this is performing for you in a real and tangible way.
Yeah. Before I do, I'm going to back up a little bit and say, what is PMax? And I might even go back and say, PMax has been around for a while. It's not like it's a new thing.
Yeah.
And I've told people that I'm born again PMax because, like most products, when they first launched, they're not as good. When Google first launched the PMax idea, everybody's like, yeah, we'll give it a try and see. But it was horrible. Humans were outperforming, and manual bidding was winning versus AI. And I was like, throw that in the trash can. Humans are still smarter than AI. I still have a job, right? And then I set it on the shelf, came back 6-8 months later, and people are starting to say, hey, you can scroll through LinkedIn or whatever, and you're like reading the tea leaves, and you're like, this PMax thing might be a little bit different now. It's not what it used to be. Google rolled out some more transparency. They're not giving you all the insights in the dashboard. You were smart enough to go through and figure out how you could dump some data into a Google Sheet and write some custom scripts, nerdery to the default platform to go, okay, here's what's actually happening behind the curtain that Google doesn't want you to really know, but we can see it if you do it this way. And you're like, okay, that's helpful. That gives us a little bit of trust, or maybe not trust. Maybe it's how this does suck, but at least there's transparency in sucking versus just like, why is this horrible? PMax has come a long way. And then AI Max is the new thing. And again, I don't see a lot of people jumping on it like hard because I think it's like Google's launching so many things so fast. And when they do launch things, it's like, it's never its best version. So you don't need to rush to be in the front of the line when it comes to new ideas because they're half baked. Yeah. That whole like, Elon's going to put that like chip implant in people's brains. Oh, yeah. I don't want to be the first guy to do that.
Not at all. And it's a similar situation with AI Max. Like the people who are using it now, who are really pioneering that, it's excellent that they're doing that. It's great. If you're finding results with it, that's great. Just from what we've seen and what I'm seeing, like you said, scrolling through LinkedIn, reading search engine land, what have you, is that there's a lot of search partners dominated spend there that aren't, I just cannot imagine are really turning into tangible results. So until it gets to that level, and I will say that they came out of the gate with a lot more accountability than PMax came out of the gate with.
I think they learned their lesson on PMax. Exactly. They're like, let's not do that again.
That people need search term reporting, like you said. It used to be with the PMax campaigns that to see the actual search terms behind it, you would have to run a custom script that would basically pull it out of the data layer that Google Ads wouldn't give you in platform. That just wasn't something that you could do. Right. AI Max has come out with that right out of the gate, which is a definite improvement. They certainly learned their lesson there.
I think so. I hope so. What's the difference between AI Max and PMax?
Yeah, I think the big difference there, Performance Max is going to allow you to appear on a lot more channels. It combines assets. You can appear on the display network and those different placements. Obviously, you can incorporate YouTube in there. AI Max, from my understanding, is much more streamlined to the paid search placements and on the search and search partners network.
So AI Max is not trying to optimize my product images and do all that fancy Merchant Center AI creativity. It's just a little bit more straight down the middle search.
It is, and it's taking a look at search in a very different way. I think that's something about AI Max that is very interesting and something that maybe people have somewhat of a misconception on, especially when planning out those campaigns, is it's less so of an actual keyword intent versus, or actually looking at the keywords by the numbers. It's about the intent behind those keywords. We talk with clients a lot about shopping keywords versus actual purchase intent keywords. I think AI Max is really trying to dive into the intent behind those keywords.
So let's talk about that, because I think that's important. If you have a client that comes at you and says, I want to do all the funnels. I want to be top of the funnel, I want to be middle of the funnel, and I want to be bottom of the funnel. Is AI Max the right choice, or is it more bottom of the funnel, or is it doing all the intents?
I would say if you had a client that wanted to do it that way, I would say that AI Max would probably fill out that mid funnel, would be my guess. I wouldn't exactly think that it would do the bottom of the funnel. I don't think it's going to do exact top of the funnel. I think if we were to do a search campaign trying to go top of the funnel, your dollars are better spent on display retargeting or some kind of video ad. And then for bottom of the funnel, I would have another search campaign set up with trying to go exact on those long tail keywords that we're converting. So I think that AI Max fills the middle to the bottom of the funnel, certainly.
The intent part was one of the other things I think is important. You say there's a lot of misconceptions out there. Is the intent solely wrapped into the keyword? If I put in near me, that's intent. Or if I put in just the word services or company, that's very bottom of the funnel. That's people coming in looking for a service, a solution, an expert, a company, a location. Very bottom of the funnel, very transactional, right? When we're planning a media buy, let's start with the lowest hanging fruit first, right? And then move up the funnel. My question is AI Max like staying there in that bottom to middle ground? And then is it looking only at the intent of that specific search in place and time? And maybe we even think about this, not just AI Max, but broad matches is its own thing too. Mm-hmm. What's the difference in how maybe the misconceptions are is, oh, it's just that search. It's just that moment in time when they're searching for coffee near me. But if they were also looking on Amazon at coffee makers yesterday, and they were searching for other coffee-related keywords in the last 48, 72 hours, is Google factoring in behaviors like that to further their intent?
It should be taking in those other factors that you mentioned. That's the advantage of running broad match versus phrase or exact in certain campaigns, is that broad match has access to bid modifiers that those other keyword match types just simply don't. Broad match is going to look at the user's previous searches. It'll also be able to examine the other keywords in the ad group when you've got it on broad match like that. And it'll also read the content of your landing page to make sure that it matches up in that respect.
Yeah, we could do a whole podcast on match types, and who knows, maybe one day we will, but really quickly, Google keeps moving the goalposts. It makes it harder for humans to keep up when Google moves. I'm sure it's hard for AI. Exact match isn't really exact match anymore. Exact match is like the new phrase match, and phrase match is the new broad match, and broad match is this new kind of AI thing. And so, again, I used to be a hard phrase match guy like 6 years ago. I'm like, phrase match or die. And then Google started messing with campaigns, and we even had one account that turned off, came back a year later. So, hey, we want to run some ads again. I'm like, cool, let's turn it back on. It was working. Everything's fine. It was phrase matched back. The phrase match was the way. Didn't perform at all like it used to. Completely different. And you're like, why are all these new search terms showing up in my search terms report that didn't show up when I was running it? The exact same count, the exact same campaign 8-9 months ago, and Google moves goalposts on people. And if you're not watching those things, you're going to end up giving Google money, not yourself revenue. That's the trick that Google likes to play, allegedly. I don't know. How do I say allegedly on this?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think they're going to come after me, but the idea is they're a company with shareholders and they want their stock to rise and they want to make money too. So you have to think about it as when we get hired by a company, our job is to work with Google, but to also be a partner to those companies and go, hey, Google's not doing what Google used to do. They're hitting the cash register, trying to steal a couple bucks here and there. We have to go, okay, that's different. Let's pivot. Phrase match is no longer the way. Now we're in this born again. Things that we used to say no to are coming back now. Now we're like born again broad match people with a little exact match overlay. We're like, this performs better. Not because anything else, but Google redefined what they want to define match types as. And you're like, okay, the goalpost move, we got to move. That's part of being a media buyer. And I'm an older media buyer, started doing Google ads back in the day, 15, 20 years ago. I can't stack my knowledge like a lawyer or a doctor. I can't be like, I've done 1,500 heart surgeries and 2,000 brain surgeries. Yeah. I can't stack years and years of media buying knowledge into, trust me, I've been doing this forever. Because what I've learned and what I've done in the last 8 months is all that matters. Yeah. It doesn't matter the 8 years before those 8 months. That's all like dead weight now that I'm like, yeah, I know it. It's in there somewhere. I have it, but it helps me a little bit. It's not something I can lean on. Anyway, yeah.
To your point, a lawyer who's experienced in cross-examination, who's been doing that for however many years, no matter what the situation is, they'll be able to cross-examine a witness and be able to lean on that experience. If you're media buying for a new account, you're trying to set up the keyword planner, the way that we would start a campaign and do that campaign setup even 8 months ago is completely different to the way that we approach it today. No matter your experience level, you have to look at, okay, we're on broad match, we're on sprinkling in some of those exact match, how we structure our negative keywords, and then also the way that we utilize AI in that respect as well has changed. Now, my approach is we're doing our keyword planner, we're getting that all set up and launched, and then incorporate ChatGPT and say, hey, here's what we're looking to do, here's the type of services that we're trying to optimize for, the keywords that we're trying to get searches for, help us out with the negative keyword list, because when we're using broad match and layering in the exact like we talked about, your negative keyword list needs to be extremely robust in a way that you didn't really have to do before. When Google moves the goalpost on you, it incentivizes you as a digital marketer to make sure that you are upping your game constantly and that you're staying on top of things. Just trying to keep your arms around Google. That's the name of the game. That's what the clients are paying us to do, as well as getting them going, is making sure that we're staying on top of Google and that their money is going where it needs to go.
It's a good way to level up in marketing and advertising. As a piece of advice to anybody who's listening, if you're in college and you're trying to figure out what the first move should be, media buying might be it, because you level up in a year, and a year from now you'll be almost as good as anybody else in the room. There'll be some, it depends on what you're doing, but like if you're in it every day and you're managing 40, 50 accounts and you're like doing the level of things that you're doing, obviously you're going to know a lot more than somebody who's just like in-house doing one account. But I guess my point is, it's a good way to level up. Old dogs like me can't be like, I've been doing this forever. I can say that. I can put that on LinkedIn, but it doesn't stack. And it also doesn't stack for AI and AI developers who are like, I have the magic pill. This is how you do things. Because as soon as you pull it off the shelf and buy it and you start paying somebody a subscription model for AI intelligence on your paid search campaign, it's built on a set of rules and an algorithm. I don't think it's going to keep up with the changes. And then every business owner is different. Everybody has different goals. I think people who are really at the top 1% of what this is are like, yeah, it's a tool. It's not going to replace my job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's how a lot of the top 1%, top 10% of all industries are. They're like, the people who are just trying to figure it out and scratch together a job out of something they don't really understand. Of course, they're going to feel like AI is going to take their job. But if you're at the top tier, flying high, you're just going to go, yep, it's cool. It's a nice tool. Let's throw it in my tool belt and let's use it. And so let's go to that, down that path. How are you using AI in your advertising? Is it ad copy? Is it creative? What tools are you using? How are you using ChatGPT? Give it to me.
Yeah, I would say, mentioned a little earlier, but I think with negative keyword generation, it's extremely helpful. It can provide some really great negative brand lists to go. You can have it obviously scan the website. With ad copy generation, it's extremely helpful. Similar to when you're using the keyword planner, you can have it scan the website, scan whatever assets you already have in there, and start helping you out with headlines, descriptions. And really, I think it's important to think of it as a tool. I think Anybody who's been doing this for a while knows that when you're creating the PMAX campaign, you can't have it create the entire asset group, right? Like you want to plug in certain headlines, descriptions you want to go through. You don't want to use just all the stock images. You have certain assets that you want to use in there. It's something to add to the tool belt and help you as you move along, and it's extremely powerful at doing that. Similarly, asset generation, trying to get some ideas sparked. That's where I find myself using it a lot in the ad copy generation. Is I'm really struggling to get these last couple of descriptions in this campaign. What is Gemini going to give me? What is ChatGPT going to give me? What is the Google Ads AI in there, which is obviously very helpful to just have it in platform. You can have it plug in very easily. That's where I find us using quite a bit. And then obviously just with the campaigns themselves, even with the placements, obviously variant testing and all of those things, AI is very good at trying to report that back and view those results. We're using it quite a bit there. What else?
You're talking about just like the multivariant testing. I'm, again, old, and I say A/B testing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean say we should A/B test this ad. I don't mean we should A/B test
really
this
A/B
ad.
test it, yeah.
It's such an old nomenclature. It's just like a go-to thing that people used to say 20 years ago. Oh, we should A/B test. It's not A/B testing. Even if I say it, I don't mean it. It's multivariant testing. It's creating 7 different headlines and 4 different descriptions and 3 different call to action buttons, and all of a sudden you're like, there's 20 million different combinations that this ad could possibly run under, and you're like, yep. Let the AI figure it out.
That's exactly where the AI
I'm just going to put some hypothesis out there that I think this is going to be the one, but I don't know. Let's let it run.
PMAX asset groups that are running with, let's say, 12 headlines, 5 long headlines, and 5 descriptions. And then you also throw in different final URLs. If you have final URL extension on, you can have it plug in some creative headlines and descriptions if you want. There's so many different variants where it's really powerful to let the AI go to work there and find out what is most likely to convert for that specific user and leverage the other data that Google has access to that's going to help it out and really turn that into a converting ad. Even if you don't think that you're using AI, it's not like talking Gemini or trying to get it to spit out some headlines and descriptions. We're really utilizing AI in almost every aspect of our media buying.
Statistics and having enough statistically relevant or enough data in your data warehouse to make a decision or determine a winner with enough confidence that you feel like that's enough data to determine the winner is something that a lot of entrepreneurs or people who aren't as experienced with the AI media buying statistics 101 class forget sometimes. Because a lot of the times the question is, how much should I spend? Not where should I spend? How should I spend? It's what should my budget be? And you're like, what are we testing? What answers are we trying to figure out?
Exactly.
And how fast do you want to figure those out? Very simple scenario. Do you want to know geography, location? Okay, if you only have $1,000, spend it in one state. Don't spend it in 5 states because it's going to take you 5 times longer to figure out the answer because you're splitting that budget 5 ways and every state
it's however much,
1/5 of the clicks.
Mm-hmm.
See what works in Kansas before you go play in Missouri or Nebraska or Iowa or wherever. That's one of the things that AI needs and even humans need. We need confidence behind the numbers. And a lot of times people give a machine learning a little bit of data, they let it run for a week, and they come back to us and go, so what's working? And you're like, let it cook.
We have no idea.
Let it cook.
You got to give it a little bit of time, and you have
or
to
give me more money. One of the two.
You could look at it that way. Going back to what you mentioned about the agency kind of mindset and having to switch between the different needs of the clients, there's going to be some clients where the way that their business is structured, the way that even their conversions are structured is going to lend itself to PMAX, or it's going to lend itself to leveraging AI in that way. And there are other businesses where the setup isn't there to work out for them in that way, or we have to think about it in different terms.
Hey, humans are built for, or at least top 1% digital media buying and planners are built to handle those conversations and those challenges and try to drive and steer their client down the right path and say, hey, you're different. The guy who spends $4,000 a month on media versus the guy who spends $4,000 a day on media, those are 2 different paths. Mm-hmm. $4,000 a day stacks pretty quick. You're going to get a boatload. You're going to get millions of impressions and a ton of clicks spending $4,000 a day. That's going to be like a PMAX automatic. Yeah, you have enough data. You have enough conversions. You have enough audience demographic data here. We can start to make some real good optimizations with some solid confidence. Your $4,000 a month guy he wants the same information. He wants the same data, but he's not, it's the confidence behind the numbers to go, these clicks are not cheap. These are $10, $12, $15 clicks, and $4,000 only goes so far. It's going to take me 3 months to get to a confidence that I actually think that this is or this isn't working because I can't make a determination on this keyword off of 5 clicks. Let's give it 50, and then we'll have enough data to make a determination whether it's good or not. We can't. It's a good keyword at a $5 click. It's not a good keyword at a $15 click. That takes time, and people are not patient. But that's the long-term plan. That if you were in-house or if you were best friends with the CEO or whatever, you're like, that's probably more the straight conversation that you can give somebody who you can be a little more candid with. But that's definitely how AI interweaves with different people and different accounts depending on the data and the budget.
And that's, I think, going back to that about this could take 3 months. This is something that we've got to take our time, really work on, spend a lot of time in that onboarding period to make sure that things are moving in the right direction, that we're doing the right things to make sure that the budget is being spent in the most efficient way possible and that we're getting actionable insights from the data. And I think trying to leverage what we're spending on click-wise, the way that we're structuring the campaigns is maybe going back to something that we did when I really started off. It's like getting them started on max clicks, having the bid cap set at a certain number to make sure that we're not spending too high. Because like you said, one keyword, if we're spending $5 on it versus 12, that's a good number for us. That's where we're seeing the results. Just trying to establish that trust from the start and let them know it's an ongoing process. It's definitely been something that we're doing a good job here recently of incorporating.
Yeah, I think you got to onboard people with the right expectations. I think one of the questions I wrote down here was like, what do clients expect from AI? And I think that's a juxtaposition we find ourselves in is they expect AI's here. You should be able to tell me the answer tomorrow. And sometimes they're like, no, it takes data to tell you the answer, and you're going to have to be a little more patient, or you're going to have to just take the lid off this thing and just spend money to get to the answer. And so let's do some sort of hybrid middle ground approach. Let's make sure everything's working. Let's make sure before we do flood this website or whatever it is with a ton of clicks and traffic, it's going to convert. The worst thing to do is just go spend a bunch of money and go, this didn't work, when it was actually the UX or the call to action or the offer or the message or the time of year or whatever it might be. You just got to really plan it out. So I think one of the things that clients expect is AI is going to make things faster, and it's not necessarily faster. It's just more automated, and some things just take more time.
Yep.
All right. What beyond, we talked about a lot about Google. Is there anything that other ad platforms are doing? What's Meta doing with AI that Google's not, or vice versa, or just different?
I think Meta is something that I've definitely noticed here recently. We've been doing a lot of catalog ads on Meta and incorporating the AI there. And as far as the placements go, the product catalog getting pumped in there. They're definitely very good on the placement side. That's something where using I believe they call it Advantage Plus. That's kind of, if you use like an Advantage Plus audience,
fancy.
that seems to be their term for
I love that.
Incorporating the AI into it. And that's another one where you want to keep your arms around it. We had a client where we were using Advantage Plus audiences, and we noticed that even though we have certain age filters on there, that in that campaign it was still expanding out, because with Advantage Plus you can have it set to where, if we think it's going to convert with someone outside of your age filters, we'll still serve them that ad. And so we turned that off on there, but I think they do a really great job on the placement side of things, putting the ads in front of the right kind of people. That's an example where we'll leave the Advantage Plus on and feel pretty confident there. I also think it does a very good job on the asset generation. I think even better than Google does in a lot of different ways of trying to get, especially on Facebook. I think your primary text, your headline, all has to be very solid when you're scrolling on social versus looking at something, Googling a bottom of the funnel keyword. I think they do a very good job of generating assets to try and stop the scroll on there. That's something that we're definitely incorporating.
We talked about AI in a lot of ways and how it's trying to automate and take our jobs, but that's one more way that I don't think it does. Is AI smart enough to go, what works on TikTok doesn't work on Facebook, doesn't work on YouTube, doesn't work on Google? Those are different channels, different mediums. You can't apply logic across the board. and I've told people this straight up. They're like, let's run that video that we're running on YouTube on Facebook or Instagram. First of all, it's 16:9 aspect ratio. If you're going to want to be on Instagram, you probably want to go vertical video, just like step one stuff, right?
Exactly.
From the get-go. But then past the operational logistics part of, is this technically possible? You're not offering things that sell on TikTok and are like the cheap $5 product stuff. The dumb influencers selling the eyeliner or the jacket or whatever you gotta try to hawk on TikTok. That's a kind of a throwaway, not a big expense. Yeah, run my credit card. Hopefully it's not Temu. It's a little bit better than that. Maybe, I don't know. That kind of stuff is just a different world. It's not B2B sales on LinkedIn or more compelling retargeting ad on Google or pick an ad network where you're like, this needs to be a little more of a poignant message to a specific audience that's thinking about making a big purchase, not a new phone case or whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had that with clients where we've basically running the same thing on Google and Facebook. And you look at one or the other and say, okay, this one's performing a little bit better. What is that? Is that the audience that we're using? Is that something, like you said about YouTube? Certain YouTube video ads are going to work a lot better on there than they would in Facebook, and that can come down to a lot of different factors. It's about just measuring that data and seeing what you're getting out of it.
If you're going to interrupt somebody's day on social media and get them to spend money, it's got to be pretty compelling. It's got to be an offer that you're like, dang, that's pretty sweet. I'm going to have to jump on that. It's awareness versus direct response 101, but it does need to be talked about. And and I don't know that an AI is going to be able to be some sort of like omni-channel micromanager of all the things at once. Yep. Like it can maybe do, let's optimize this one account. It's not going to be able to, at least I'm sure somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong on this, but is there, the one where Tony Stark has to go, like Iron Man has to go?
You said Transformers. You're talking to Jarvis is the AI for Tony Stark. I am your Avengers guy. I might not be your Transformers guy.
I have nobody's guy. I don't even know the difference between Avengers and Transformers. It's like the guy who can look into the internet and see everything in every corner and hack NSA and all this stuff. Like, there's nothing that's going to do that right now in the media world, where it's, let me just do this omni-channel robot super AI over the top and tell it what to do, because it's not smart enough to get into the nooks and crannies of the human mind and go, oh, that worked because it was a scrolling teenager at midnight scrolling through their phone. They're looking at it in more of a meta way. There's not a whole lot of psychology there.
You have to put that intent there. You have to add in those layers of control that really help the AI focus in the right direction. You cannot just give it the keys to the kingdom and expect it to run. Yeah. There's a lot of misleading signals in there that it can take and go down a bad path. You have to lay the groundwork to make sure that it's going to result in success for you and your business.
Yeah. We talked about like all of the things that AI is trying to do and trying to get it into our little world of media buying. Are there AI safeties that you're putting into play, and like ways that you're trying to like make sure that AI doesn't overstep or do too much because you've seen it go sideways?
Yeah, I think, and honestly, it goes back to that first layer with the PMAX was doing a lot of scripting. And that's something that we continue to this day. There's a lot of really great scripts out there that can help you out with Performance Max to make sure that your AI campaigns are moving in the right direction. And when I say those things, like something that we have incorporated, obviously you can look at search terms now in PMAX, but you can also set up, I think it's very helpful to have a script that kind of alerts you when certain search terms are not converting, and that can give you that extra notice that you need to go in there, you need to negative match those and make sure that they're not costing you money and not turning into real results. One of those other things, we've got another script that excludes negative placements each week, but that blocks placements on the display in video. It blocks mainly the placements on the display network that aren't like a .com or a .net placement, any of those bad spammy placements that you don't want your ads to show up on. It'll block those, check the last week, and make sure that no stragglers got in there. That's another good way to make sure that you're steering the AI in the right direction. That's the important thing to think with like the AI blocking stuff, is it's really about just pointing it in the right direction and making sure that you're giving it the right signals to optimize performance, in addition to strong negative keywords, and just giving it a really solid conversion goal structure as well, to make sure that not only are you measuring the primary conversions that you want to drive the actions to, but also giving it those secondaries to make sure that it's seeing all of that too, not to optimize for, but to then guide towards those primary conversions.
It goes back to prompt engineering. I think that's what a lot of AI experts and LLM gurus always fall back to. It's not the AI's fault that it's not smart. It's that you didn't write the right prompt or give it the right guardrails. You have to be a good prompt engineer to get the good AI back out of it. So, again, it's a tool, because if you're good at using a hammer and you're good at pounding nails, you're going to be able to build a house much faster than me. And if I can prompt engineer things faster, better than the other guy, then I'm going to be able to have better campaigns and better guardrails and better AI machines to do things for me as well. So it's another tool. That's all it is. But prompt engineering and making sure that AI doesn't go off the rails. I know you've put in some scripts that make sure the budget stays on pace. Hopefully it doesn't go too far down the path of bad websites. We don't want to show up on some weird places, and it'll do. Google wants to make money. Always important to remember, at the end of the day, Google likes to make money. And then what guardrails can you put up around that to go, yeah, I don't want to be on every weather app and mobile app that's rando CPM or whatever.
Yeah. Especially if it's not driving any meaningful traffic, or if it's not the kind of place that you want to be, just get it out of there.
We've done this with other Microsoft Clarities and things, where we'll look at ad traffic, like Google Ads as a bucket, and then we'll look at search as a bucket. We'll look at display PMAX as a bucket of traffic, right? But then if you split that last bucket, like the display, or even like search, I guess you could say search too, but if you go, this was on a Google property. This was a Google click from like the Google search results. This was like a display ad that was like in Gmail. Oh, the time on site was 30 seconds and they clicked around a little bit. They look like a human. Funny when you turn on search partners or you look at some of those other windows that you can view the same traffic, same media buy through. And you go, why did I get it like all these clicks that spent 1 second on my website and bounced? Google. I don't want to point the finger too hard, but that's why you need to not just give your credit card to Google and say, hey.
We just here recently launched 2 PMAX campaigns for a client, and we've been measuring their performance and the channel performance, like I mentioned. That'll show you the share of your cost, exactly where the impressions are going, what conversions they're leading to. And one of them had a product feed, the other didn't. That was the big difference. One takes them to the main website, the other takes them to a different subdomain where they can shop. And just looking at the performance here these past couple of weeks, it's very apparent that the campaign that takes them to the shop, even though it has a lower overall budget, is driving the majority of the conversions. And you can take a look. It's a lot of regular search network traffic that is turning into those results. And on the campaign that goes to the main website that doesn't have the product feed, we're seeing a huge percentage of search partners traffic that isn't turning into meaningful results. And that's that accountability that, to me, allows me to take a look at it. We can talk to the client and be like, hey, this is exactly what we're seeing. This is the change that we need to make. Let's switch our budgets here because we can clearly see that this isn't turning into the results. That's the accountability that I needed to make sure that when we're talking to our clients and recommending PMAX, that this is how we can move forward. Being able to see that and make the switch is extremely powerful.
I think it's hard to... Okay, so we talked about Google likes to make money, and then there's the affiliate world of Amazon resellers or Amazon affiliates, and there's Google AdSense. People like to try to make $1 on their blog or whatever through running Google AdSense and running ads from Google on their website. That's your display partners, that's your search partners. We like to buy it on a CPC if it's quality traffic, and if it's less than par potential media buy or top of the funnel or awareness or something programmatic that's not like as good, that's where your CPM buys wash out the good and the bad a little bit. What were we talking about just a minute ago?
We were talking about those top of the funnel CPM buys, and just
before that, what got us into that topic?
We were talking about the channel performance, being able to see the share of cost that was going to search partners versus search network, and then making the decision from there, having that visibility and being able to say, okay, yeah, that's just not working. We can see this one campaign is clearly outperforming the other. We're not giving up on that other campaign, certainly, but it's definitely a time to flip those budgets and prioritize the one that's turning into the actual results. And that was the other part of it, is being able to see not only is this turning into web purchases on their store, but that we can also see that the PMAX traffic is going deeper into the website. It's clicking those links back to the main website and then taking actions there. So that also, having that visibility gives us the confidence to be able to say that they're taking meaningful action and going even further.
Google likes to make money. Affiliate marketers also want to make money. It's a lot easier to fake a PMAX display ad. And I don't mean fake it in like you're hacking or you're doing something nefarious or malicious. It's harder to manufacture a product feed across a website because nobody really is looking for a product next to your article or your news site or whatever. It's not where product feeds belong. And that's not really how AdSense works. So if you're trying to compare an account that has maybe e-commerce and a product feed attached to it to a account that doesn't, think about all those low-level websites. Even remember like parked pages was a thing for a while. Like people would run ads on parked domains, and they would run ads just to get that stupid click and try to get like or the CPM. They would just get 1/10 of a penny every time that page loads or whatever. I'm not saying that every affiliate marketer trying to game the system, but I will say every affiliate marketer is motivated by money, and seeing that check from Google come in every week or month or whatever it is a motivational factor for them to try to figure out ways to get your ad more impressions, more views, more clicks, so that they, like Google, can make more money. And so that's why I think Search Partners traffic looks like it the way it does. I was playing a golf game on my phone the other day because I'm like one of those weirdos, and you're like on the tee box and there's a banner, there's a virtual billboard in the game. It's running AdSense ads through like the game into that billboard. So when you're sitting there teeing off and you look at it, it's like an Amazon ad or something. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
They're making money running those billboards inside the game, and they can run billboards up and down the fairway as many as they want. Every single one of those counts as an ad impression.
And let me ask you this: did you appreciate that they tried to bake it into the game with like
I don't
a little
hate it.
billboard
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
say every minute 30 it flashes up there like a typical little pop-up?
Yeah, I'm not a hater.
No,
I'm not hating the game. Game recognizes game, though, and I'm just like, if I was the advertiser and I just saw I got charged 10 impressions for a golf game that literally the last billboard down there at the bottom of the hill by the green, all I can see is a white dot. I'm not even looking at the ad, but I'm guessing somewhere in the machine, someone counted it, and that's not the way it's supposed to work.
How do you measure that impression versus showing up on a website like NBC? If you're looking at it at a display campaign, those two impressions, in my mind, they're weighted the same, I'm sure, in Google. But when clients ask us, especially when we're talking about display or retargeting ads, I think one of the big things that gets asked is, okay, but where are these ads actually shown? A lot of people don't even think about that.
And that's like a whole AI black box of AI has access to the same inventory. Would they make some decisions like that? Our clients don't do that because they're local, they're regional, they're business owners who want good ad quality. They're not a Fortune 100 company. The companies that I see running those ads and getting those ad positions are your
Progressive,
you got your Flows and your Amazons, and you're just wide open
Walmart,
up to what's another $1 million? Throw it in the bucket and see what happens. Laissez-faire advertisers out there who is like, there's no such thing as a bad impression. Every impression's a good impression. We're not here to qualify and quantify every media dollar that we're putting out there. We know that 20-30% of our media budget is probably going into the wind and just junk. But we're not hiring Rank Fuse and Alex to run our media campaigns. We're just throwing money out in the wind and seeing what sticks. So I almost respect it that the smaller agencies and the people like us have to hustle a little harder to make sure that every dollar gets counted for and everything that we do is in the right direction, because the big boys don't play the same game we do. They're just throwing money around, and it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. Is there anything you want to throw out there to put a bow on an AI and media buying? Any crystal ball forecasts or anything you want to
Any crystal
call
ball?
your shot on for the next 2026?
Well, I think just looking at Google's history, I don't even know, it's not a hot take. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I think the big thing to look out for is going to be the improvements in AI Max, similarly to how they've structured PMax. I think Google's kind of learned their lessons from the rollout of PMax and the backlash that was there. And I think the early adoption of AI Max has been a lot better, but I think the improvements moving forward, just from what I've seen of the search partner dominated traffic, that obviously makes me very wary of it. Seeing those improvements in 2026, I'd expect to see a lot wider adoption, especially when we talked earlier about the clients that would be able to use PMax to its fullest versus those ones who wouldn't. The ones who wouldn't really maybe adopt PMax because they either don't have the assets to really utilize that, you don't have a strong YouTube video, don't have display assets that they really love. That's a great use case for AI Max if you're looking for a search campaign. That allows you to figure out where your audience is at, what keywords you need to be prioritizing. As they refine that, I'd see a lot more AI Max adoption once they get rolling with that.
Cool. I'm not. Is that NBA?
No, that's Houston Texans. That's my Houston Texans.
Football. Sorry, my
edge
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Condolences.
Yeah.
Join us with the rest of the Chiefs fans over here. We're out of the playoffs. I think I'll put two things out there. It's not Google related. It's CTV, LTV. I think linear TV becomes a bigger slice of the pie in 2026 for non-prioritized television, aka not live sports. I think that will still be the thing that people still watch. And if you want to run a live sports or a local television spot through CBS or Fox or whatever, that's not digital media yet. It's not going to happen probably for a while, or if ever. 2026 is a election year, right? It's like the midterm. It's not the presidential election, but
the midterm election.
So there's going to be a lot of that showing up in programmatic and advertising. So you got to weigh that out when it comes down to getting closer and closer to the elections. A lot more of that CTV, OTV for election campaigns and things like that. Programmatically bought. It's going to show up in your DVRs and your rewatched programs. But live TV is still live TV. Everything else is going to become more digital. And they're going to have more AI and more programmatic and more audience inferences. Live TV is still live TV. You're not buying that through digital. But there's enough other inventory out there. And studies have shown that the younger audiences, my kids, perfect examples, don't watch TV. I'm downstairs watching KU, watching Chiefs. Like, come on, guys. You want to watch the game with me? Gather around, children, in the living room, and let's watch sports like we used to in the 80s. And no. They're like, no? Can I play Xbox, watch TikToks, and do that at the same time? Then maybe I'll join you.
Because a couple of generations up, but yeah, all I use YouTube TV for is just for sports. Watching TV, it's just not something that happens anymore.
So through no fault of its own, live TV is dying. The Super Bowl, that will always have its place. I'm not saying that's going away. That's my prediction. But in the future, how are people going to watch live television is changing. And are they going to watch it live, or are they going to let it cook for a minute and then come back and watch it 3 hours later while they're doing something else, because in the moment they were too busy scrolling, and they'll catch the recap or are going to catch the replay on a platform that does roll programmatic ads. It's not the live spot. So anyway, that's one little nugget we can end with. Thanks for being on today. Let's do it again sometime. We'll figure out the next topic, and next time it comes down to anything paid media related, we'll pull you in, and you'll be the go-to guy.
All right. Ready to roll.
Thanks, Alex.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.